how are you doing? Welcome to Wealth Wednesday. I have a guest here with me. My name is Marshall Weeks, and I am known as Marshall, the Financial Creative. And today we will be speaking with Kevin Marquez. Very excited to speak to him. He's going to speak to us about disability insurance and how this can help you. So please give a warm welcome to Mr. Kevin Marquez.
Good morning.
Hey, thank you so much for joining. Let me give a little backstory on how I met Kevin. I keep telling you all about Taste Urban. That is just one of the best networking events in Atlanta. It's the best networking event I've been to. And I mean, just the people that you meet, you never know who you may meet. And so that is how I met Kevin Marquez at Taste Urban. And so in talking to him, we found out we had financial services in common and just wanting to help people with their finances. And so I found out that Kevin knows how important disability insurance is. And so first, I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we'll jump right in. So introduce yourself to the people, Mr. Marquez.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Marquez. I'm the owner of Accutax Business and Financial Services, where we offer an array of financial products and services to individuals as well as small business owners. But today, I wanted to speak with you all specifically about disability insurance.
Perfect. And so, you know, a business owner typically has to pay for their own insurance, right? So, you know, it's not like an employee. So Tell us the importance of disability insurance, and especially for the business owner.
Well, to me, the importance of having disability coverage, because disability is income protection. Because most people, when you start your small business, you're using your own personal savings, and like you just invest everything that you have into the business. So anything can happen. You can get into a car accident. It could be a slip and fall. Anything can happen to cause a disability. And if you don't have the coverage to replace that income, you can lose everything that you've been building for years for using your personal income.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Because, you know, typically when people start out as a small business owner, it's just them. So if something happens to them and they can't work, who's going to, you know, carry on the business, the day-to-day function so they can bring in income? And so tell us, like, people who work every day have the, what do they call it? Short-term disability?
Yes.
Long-term disability. So can a person who, you know, doesn't have the employer paid insurance, when they start their business, do they have to make a certain amount to have the disability insurance? Do you all still do long-term, short-term, or what is there a difference?
All right. Yeah. So there's a difference. So we offer both. So for the business owners, we have a term. We have term and permanent disability coverage. So we have a term disability coverage that can cover you from 5 to 30 years. You can customize it as you see fit, and it'll cover you to age 65. But we also have a long-term disability policy also that can cover you. But the long-term disability coverage is it's a combination of long-term disability, because after 6 months, your short-term disability will cover 60% of your income for 6 months. After those 6 months, if you're still disabled, then the long-term disability kicks in. And the difference between the long-term disability that we offer is the benefit period is 5 years. Most long-term disability is not going to cover you for 5 years. And at the same time, with that disability, if you are in need of long-term care, you have a long-term care benefit that comes with it. And also, if it leads to you, unfortunately, passing away, your beneficiary would also get a death benefit. So it's like 3 coverages in one for the long-term disability.
Oh, wow. So that sounds like life insurance built in there as well.
Yep. Yep. If it's not used, whatever amount of the coverage that's not used for disability or long-term care, then it becomes a death benefit. So it's like 3 in 1.
Wow. Okay. That is really, really good. And so the short-term and long-term benefits. So what happens, I guess, are there any exclusions that you know of? Because I know there's always a lot and it's hard to keep up with that long list of fine print. But for example, here's an example. Let's say someone comes to you and says, well, I was diagnosed with an illness. I better get it. They haven't received like a terminal date. So the doctor hasn't said you have, 6 months to live, but something like, and I'm not talking about like cancer. What if someone has like, a sickness that they can live with as long as they maintain it? Are they still able to get the disability insurance if they already come to you saying, hey, Kevin, I have said sickness, but I'm okay. I just have to take this medicine. Can I get disability insurance from you?
Yes, they should be covered. But one thing to note, that anybody that's under the age of 50, when they apply for disability, there's no lab work involved at all. If you are 50 or older, then they'll do lab work to make sure that you're not signing up for disability coverage and you already have an existing disability, or making sure that you're not too high of a risk. Because that's what any insurance, they calculate risk. They got to calculate the risk. So if you put a health and it's not a condition that's causing you to be disabled at the moment, then you still can get covered.
Okay. And I think, again, that's so good to know, because there could be someone watching who wants to leave their job and may be afraid to leave because they're thinking, I'm going to lose all of my insurance. So what do you think about that, having your eggs all in one basket when it comes to your benefits?
I mean, if you have a job, it's always good. I know, especially with life insurance, we're not talking about life, but it's always good to have life insurance outside of a job, because what most people don't know, most insurance coverage that you get through a job, they have active work provisions in insurance. So if anything happens to you, if it's not related to work, they're not obligated to pay all the time. So you have to read that fine print to make sure that that's not the case. But anybody, I can cover anybody who needs disability as long as they're not a state employee. State employees will have to go through the job for the short-term disability, but for the long-term disability, I can get those people covered as well.
Okay, good. And that's something to bring out as well. So not only are you able to help self-employed, but you're also able to help employed people, even if they have it on their job. Is there a benefit? Well, you've already kind of explained it a little bit, but just to re-emphasize, if I work every day and I signed my paperwork in HR during orientation and they told me I have disability, does the disability insurance that you have, does it kick in? Can I use both? Would you be able to explain how that would work if I go to the doctor and say, well, hey, I have this outside of work and I also have this at work?
Yes, it's not going to be coordinated. It's two separate policies. So you'll be able to get paid and get covered through both of them. But it's going to be for 60% of your income. So it's going to cover the same amount. Some disability policies, short-term at some jobs, cover 40% of your income. And I've even did enrollments where I've seen it cover 80%, but the standard is 60%.
Oh, wow. Now that is good. Now tell me this, because of course we talked briefly at Taste Urban. How did you get into this area? How did you get into the financial arena?
Well, growing up, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana. And what I used to see a lot of, that's back in the days before the internet and computers, the insurance agents used to do home visits. And what they used to do, they used to come take advantage of the people in the community and in the neighborhood. Because I would see people, using their last money that they have to pay these premiums for these policies. And then when it comes time for the policy to pay up, they just found out that they've been paying all these years, paying for a burial policy that probably was like about a $5,000 policy instead of having a real insurance policy. So it really was ripping everybody off in the neighborhood. So money and finance always was kind of my thing. So my bachelor's degree is in finance. So I always said that when I get an opportunity to get into that space, I would do it so I can educate, my people to make sure they can make more informed and better decisions. Whether if they're shopping with me or not, they just would have the information that they would need to make a more informed decision. And they can see, when they can notify and identify the red flags that's being thrown up when some agents come at them and not telling them the truth and not fully disclosing everything that they should disclose to them.
Right. And that is important. And I remember that as well, seeing that insurance man come to my big mama's house every month to pick up the check. And I remember that vividly. And when she passed away, I don't think that policy was all that much. And so that was, of course, I was a little younger then, so I didn't understand all the ins and outs, but I just remember listening to the adults. And so I think that has been something that all of us really can speak to, our communities being taken advantage of because we didn't know. And so I'm glad that, I'm glad that you're able to use that experience to help, because even though we're in 2023, there's still so many of us who have no idea on how to navigate this whole financial arena. So tell us where you went to school. I saw that you went to Xavier University.
Yes, I got my bachelor's degree from Xavier University in Louisiana in
Okay.
finance. And then when I moved to Atlanta in 2005,
Okay.
I was looking for not per se a career change because in New Orleans, the financial market is small. So I wasn't really able to get a job in finance. So that's when I started my tax business to, to use my financial knowledge. And when I started the tax business, I was in business for like 3 years. Then I had to move to Atlanta. And when I moved to Atlanta, I had lost like 95% of my customers from my tax business because most of them were located in the lower ninth ward, which took like most of the brunt of the storm from Hurricane Katrina. So some of those people I never heard from again. So when I moved up here, I had to build it all the way back up from the ground up. And then I applied to be a substitute teacher just to keep myself working until everything picked up. And I fell in love with that, fell in love with helping the students. So I spent 17 years in education, and that led me to go to Grand Canyon University twice. The first time I went, I got my master's in secondary education, and then I went back and got my specialist in educational leadership. And the specialist is like one notch under a doctorate degree. So if I'd have wrote the dissertation, I would be Dr. Marquez, but I just didn't have time to actually do it because I was losing business from being in school. So I had to kind of balance both because I didn't want to just lose all of my business going to the school. So that kind of, my experience in education kind of helps me do a good job of explaining the benefits to potential clients and kind of educating, community members on what's going on in the insurance industry. So I kind of combine both to try to make sure I'm as effective as I can be.
Okay, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I don't think we ever talked about that you taught for 17 years. Oh my goodness.
I spent 17 years I started as a business education teacher for like my first year, and then the last 14 years, I was either a math teacher or a math instructional coach.
Nice. And so I'm sure you probably saw that financial literacy isn't something that they really teach. Do you ever think that you may attempt to go back or maybe start something on the side since you're an entrepreneur where you would teach kids about financial literacy? Have you ever thought about it?
Yes, I thought about it, and I used to do it because, like I said, I started out as a business education teacher, and the school I started at, they didn't have that curriculum. I brought that curriculum to the school. So
nice.
When I teach math, I know math, the biggest problem with students in math is always the why. So I use real world situations and scenarios involving money and budgeting and finance to get them more engaged in learning math so I can answer their why questions. So I kind of incorporate that already in everything that I teach.
That is so good. That is just so good. So in Georgia, I'm a member of the Junior League of Atlanta. And so we're focusing on literacy because in Georgia, the literacy numbers are low and I didn't realize how many children as well as adults could not read. And I don't want to quote the wrong percentage, but it's alarming because, we just automatically assume, everyone knows how to read, and it's not true. And so I know it's literacy. We have to learn how to read, but I also think in conjunction to that, financial literacy is so, so, so important because number one, if we cannot read, we can't log on to the internet and do things, when you talk about disability insurance, and that makes me think of the medical field. And so have you noticed how our doctors' offices are sending us to apps? Everything now is app related. Go on the website and make your appointment, or, sometimes they have the options to where if they have a separate category where you can read an article and not diagnose yourself, but treat it at home because they don't want you to come in, So learning how to read, it's going to be impossible almost to survive without reading. What do you think about the person, or what advice would you give to the person, the adult, maybe they have kids or nieces, nephews, who they have seen what's coming down. Technology is taking over. Everything is kind of like self-serve now, even in the grocery stores. You got to know how to read, but you also got to know what to do with your money. What would you say to the adult who maybe want to learn more? How do they learn more? What steps do they take? How do they help their kids? Give us some wisdom.
All right. Well, as far as technology, I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of the things that I know and learn about technology, I learned it from the younger generation, because
Okay.
that's their thing. They growing up in a technological age. I mean, if it's me buying a new cell phone, if I need to get that program, any kind of social media advertising or anything I need to do on that level, I get it from them, because that's what they actually do. So to give you an example, I rebranded my business about a month ago, and I had been working on it for like probably 6 months, trying to come up with a new logo and find, things that would fit for me to rebrand it. All I had to do, not knowing, was I talked to my son. He had some kind of computer program where he entered my business name into a logo design contest from people from all around the world. And it had like about 300 designs that were sent from people all around the world. And when I picked the design that I wanted, they sent the copyright paperwork. I was able to sign it, get the logo copyrighted, and now I got a new logo. And I had been working on all that for all that time for nothing, because I could have just went to him. It took him 3 days. It took him 3 days. So that's their space. So I kind of use that relationship to kind of bridge the gap. Because like you said, the literacy, the problems in literacy affect students in all subjects, and it really hurts them in math also, because math is not like it used to be, where you just say 2 + 2 = 4. They may give you a situation like you actually going to the grocery store and you got to figure out, you got to be able to pull information from this problem to be able to perform the calculations that's needed to come with the right answer. So that's why a literacy strategy is always best to use for that. And then for as far as for adults, I mean, every parent's educational level is different, but they have adult literacy class courses also too that parents can take. Like some of the schools that their children go to offer them, and then they have adult education programs that they can go to kind of work on the literacy, because the literacy hurts a lot. I mean, you can read any document and don't understand the verbiage of the document, and you can sign your name to something that can have you doomed later on. I mean, it happens all the time, even in the jail system. Like a lot of people sign up for stuff and they wind up having sentences and consequences that they don't understand because they never understood it from the beginning. So it's really like and you have to have a want to be able to get better at reading, because reading is not like it used to be, where you actually gonna have a hardback book. And I can't tell you the last time I read a book. If I read something, it's on the internet, it's in a PDF format, or I even listen to Audible books now. So all the books I read is Audible. So like the art of reading is different. And then, when we went to school back in our days, we had phonics. They taught phonics in the class to help you break down the words and code the words. They don't do that anymore. And then, like, in the school system, reading and language arts used to be 2 different classes. Now it's all in one. So you got one teacher trying to do everything. So that's kind of the hurdles. But it just has to be stressed. If you put it in front of the students or the parents and you do it enough, then they have no choice to get better. But it's just the expectation got to be set high for them so they can achieve more than what they think they can achieve. And if they do fall short, they still be at an acceptable level, because with the pandemic, that pushed all the kids back by 2 years. True. And then the research already shows that if you go a whole summer without doing any kind of enrichment, that causes a 2-year gap too. So really you're dealing with students with a 4-year gap. And when I go into schools and work, because I still do a little education consulting, it like the facts prove the research, because you have students in 8th grade, but they're performing on 3rd and 4th grade level, because that's really the last time they was really in the classroom and was able to keep up. So everything matches.
Wow. And again, those are things that we may not even think about, especially if we're not around young people or we're not in the schools. And so we are thinking that, oh, everyone knows this, and we take for granted how much of a blessing it is if we are aware, or if someone crossed our path and say, hey, come look at this, or this is important. So I'm glad that, people like yourself are out there, because the information needs to get out. Something else you said, regardless of whether someone comes to you or goes to someone else, you just want to make sure that they understand, because like you said, once you sign your name on that paper, that's it, because
Yep.
you signed it. So regardless of knowing or not, that signature kind of has binded you to whatever it is it says. So literacy is very important. So go ahead. Yeah,
And,
go ahead.
and that's a lot too. That's like even in the tax arena, like a lot of people don't know, they go to these rinky-dink tax places, and I mean they don't read the fine print at the bottom. Once you sign your name, you sign your name saying that you agree to everything that's on there. So when people get audited, they don't have no other place to go because they signed it, because they're not reading the fine print. And in terms of insurance, like every insurance agent is not honest. Like they got relationships that I had to terminate when I see this person saying that they're a top producer, and then I find out what you're doing to become a top producer. I mean, I got a code of ethics. I can't, because you taking care of people's families. You don't want to put somebody in a situation to make them think that they have one thing, and then when that life event happens, they're not covered up to the amount that they're supposed to be, and then you can't really provide them what they need. I mean, that's something that I refuse to do, because I don't want nobody, I wouldn't want nobody to do that to me.
Absolutely. And I just watched, and I think I've seen this before, but for whatever reason, I watched the story about Bernie Madoff again. And, the looks on and these are regular working people, where we weren't talking about or not talking about his wealthy friends. These were regular people who had worked all their life, who gave their hard-earned savings to him.
Yep.
And they lost so the look on their faces. And, one man said he had to move out of the home that his father had built. His dad built the house. And, after, the dad passed, he moved, family, that wealth, leaving the house to this one. And he, grew up in the house. He lived in the house. He raised a family, and he broke down on camera because he had to move out of the house. And he said it wasn't the money that he lost that hurt him. It was the fact that he lost his dad's house, because his dad worked hard, And so we don't ever want to be the type of people who, just to make a dollar, just to make a dime, just completely lose our morals and ethics to do that, because these are real people. Yeah. So we'll close out. I will let you, again, tell the people who you are, how to reach you. And then we just appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your busy schedule. So I'm going to let you have the floor. Let me see if I can do this right. Bear with me, because I'm going to remove myself and let you have the floor.
All right. I appreciate you for having me, and I appreciate everyone's time for listening. Once again, I'm Kevin Marquez, the owner of Accutax Business and Financial Services. The best way to reach me is at my email address below, financialservices@accutaxinc7.com. And you can call me if you're interested in any type of disability products or services that I offer, or even if you just have some questions about things that you're not too clear or sure about. And I'll be more than glad to assist you and help you get, on the right road to get the coverages that you need.
All right. Thank you again so much for joining us, and you have a great evening.
All right. You do as well.
All right. Okay. Right. Bye-bye. All right. That was Kevin Marquez. I said good evening. I meant have a great day. Thank you for joining me, Wealth Wednesdays. If you are interested in being a guest on Wealth Wednesdays, you want to spotlight your business, or if you want to talk about something in the financial arena, if that is your thing, even if you have a business and you want to talk about maybe the challenges, how you received funding. We like to keep everything about wealth. Money Things from Mars. That's what we want to keep it as. Please connect with me, IG_Money Things from Mars, Facebook Things from Mars, Weeks MBA, and YouTube at Coach Money Mars. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.